interesting times, Dan, for sure, because the last time we spoke, we were in the month of May, the first and worst down month of 2019, and then last week, the best week of the year. Today, just small moves up, and then right now down. What do you think is next with this sort of volatility? What are investors waiting for to break this sideways trend?
Well, the market's very focused, Abigail, on basically the narratives in the market that it's been contending with. And that's the trade situation with China. That I think that's still going to be the focus, and I think that's why you continue to see the volatility persist in the market, because the headline risk is still very persistent. And I think so that's one of the major focuses. Also, the Fed. I mean, the Fed is continuing, and central banks across the globe continue to soften their stance. And now we've seen developed nations start to cut rates. It started in New Zealand a few weeks ago, and then we saw Australia, India do it a week and a half ago, and so the expectations are that that's going to continue to roll out here, and certainly the expectations are for a rate cut here in the United States sooner rather than later.
So, Dan, it's really interesting that you bring up both trade and the Fed, clearly the two big issues, and the volatility coming out of the 2016-2017 rally that started in late January, right after President Trump put on tariffs against washing machines and solar panels coming out of China. So it seems like trade was the impetus for all of this volatility. But at this point, which do you think is the more important macro factor that traders, investors are paying attention to, the Fed or trade?
I would say the Fed, in the sense that from a volatility standpoint, even though we're seeing the VIX elevated and holding up here, it hasn't gotten to a point where you'd see it get too worried about the risk of a significant down move. So I'd say from a floor standpoint, a force standpoint, you'd say the Fed is still there. From a headline risk, though, I mean, that's why you're seeing the VIX still holding up here 16.5, because we're seeing the market move on an intraday basis better than 1%.
Yeah,
so
and speaking of the Fed, Dan, just skipping quickly to your trade, rates. You're looking at the XLF. You have a bullish position. If you could talk to us in about 15 seconds or so.
You got it. Yeah, basically, I'm looking to take out some risk, but play to the upside. I'm looking at a trade example in July for 1x2, 27.28.5, 1x2. It has a nice upside range between 27.5 and 29.5 for profit potential.